bisa kata menikah apa lagi. Om Namo Narayana.
We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Ujjay Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. And tonight, Swamiji commences tonight's satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with Shiva Panchaksha Stotra by Sri Rajneesh.
Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Mandakini Salil Chandan Charchitaya Nandeshwar Pramathanat Maheshwaraya Mandar Pushpa Bahu Pushpa Supujitaya Tasmai Makaraya Namah Shivaya Tasmai Makaraya Namah Shivaya Shevaya Gauri Vadnabja Vrunda Suryaya Dakshaya Dharnashikaya Shri Nilkantaya Vrishabhadvajaya Tasmai Shikaraya Namah Shivaya Tasmai Shikaraya Namah Shivaya Vasistha Kumbhot Bhavgat Maya Munindra Devar Chit Shekharaya Chandrarka Vaishwanar Lochanaya Tasmai Vakaraya Namah Shivaya तस्मै वकाराय नमः शिवाय यक्षस्वरूपाय जटाधराय पिनाकहस्ताय सनातनाय दिव्याय देवाय दिगम्बराय तस्मै यकाराय नमः शिवाय तस्मै यकाराय नमः शिवाय पञ्चाक्षरमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत शिवसन्निधौ शिवलोकम् अवाप्नोति शिवेन सह मोदते. We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is July the 27th, 2021, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 355. And now Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvateitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Nirvana Prakarana Purvardha, Section 118, Methods of Attaining Self-Realization. The teaching is being given by Prajapati Manu to a great king, Ikshwaku. That's the storyline. The subtle meaning, Prajapati Manu, is cosmic mind. Teaching Ikshwaku is ideal spiritual aspirant. The Guru channels the cosmic mind to bring enlightenment to aspiring disciple. That's the subtle basis. And we continue. Just as a traveler sees different scenes and sights of nature in a detached manner as the journey is on, so an aspirant must develop a spirit of detachment towards all the passing conditions of the world. All conditions, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, prosperity and adversity, they go on, they pass on like clouds coming into the sky, rain, then sunshine, windy. Similarly, all conditions in your life, they are passing phenomena. Now, what does it really imply? If you really have that vision, firstly, when encountering challenging situation, you will not allow yourself to be sunk in despair. But we allow the mantra, even this will pass away. Even this will pass away. But with a positive view. And another view, whatever is happening, no matter how adverse or negative may appear to be, they are challenges presented before you for discovering your spiritual strengths. So therefore, from advanced point of view, they are all your opportunities in a profound way. So this form of positive view must continue to develop. Sometimes you are consciously developing it, and sometimes unconsciously. You are not always conscious. He must not be lenient with the senses, nor should he inflict pain on them by undue withdrawal from the sense objects. In sadhana level, you have to restrain your senses with effort. But even in that, you have to utilize your common sense and don't be too strict, but be in moderation, not controlling too much and not leaving senses to their freedom. Both sides control and bring your practice to moderation, madhyam marga. But as you advance, controlling the senses becomes sahaj, spontaneous. And along with the control of senses, there is sense of saras, there is sense of joy within your heart. You see an occasion that would have aroused wrath in your personality, anger. But you are able to control the rising anger in a simple way. That's called sahaj. And thereby feeling a sense of great joy that you have been successful, that you are doing your sadhana with success. You are sucking up all that is good. Nothing remains shesh. I'm joking. The intellect that sustains the concept, I am this body, must be abandoned because it is the cause of bondage. On the other hand, one must develop that intuitive intellect which sustains the understanding, I am subtler than the vast sky. The intellectual concept of the self, that's called paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge. Intellectual concept, I am not this body. that becomes shallow. And your deep-rooted conviction, I am the body, is difficult to be abandoned. Dehadhyas, identity with the body, will not move away by mere intellectual knowledge. But when you advance on the path, intellect becomes transformed into intuition. And it is intuitive knowledge that sustains, I am not the body. Who am I? I am subtler than the vast sky. I am Chirakash. Understand, although Akash refers to space. Spaciousness suggests a sense of freedom. Your first gross stage of spaciousness is in the physical plane. When you have settled your material needs. And when you settle your material needs, like having a good house, a good comforting situation, your bhutakash is being straightened. But when you begin to settle your sentimental world, in the world of your feeling, if that feeling level is not expansive, if you don't have expansion in the heart, then you have not attained freedom, absolute sense of joy. And the third state, Chidakash, Bhutakash, Chittakash. Chidakash is your essential nature. And it's allegorical term, Akash. Here is space, is infinite space. An awareness of infinite expansion, also known as Bhuma. O king, dwell constantly upon that self, which is the devourer of time itself. Time is the spirit of death that destroys all, yet it, in turn, is devoured by the self. You are that self, beyond time and space. Meditating upon the self implying continue to have inner spiritual affirmation that the real I am is not body. As long as you are identified with body, you are going to be terrified by death. And that terror will haunt you from life to life. No matter how progressive you are, how successful you are, ultimately you are gripped by the terror of death. So death devours everything that you thought was positive. But if you have turned your steps on the path of wisdom, your affirmation goes into, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am Satchidananda, I am existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. This form of movement is the cure of the virus of mortality. All individuals, all beings suffer from the virus of mortality. And virus is, yes, virus, fear. All are gripped by fear, known as abhinivesh klesha, fear of losing life. And if you have come to that state of asserting and internally well rooted in the knowledge that you are death unto time, time is Kal, and you are Mahakal. Time, another name is given to the self, is Kal Ratri. Time is Kal, and your knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, is the night. The night of means time, end of time. Relinquish your attachment to the perishable objects of the world and direct your mind to the majesty of the divine self. Though enfolding her child in her loving arms, a sleeping mother might dream that she has been separated from her child due to the illusion of her dream. In the same way, one dreams of being separated from his self due to ignorance. Now, regarding separation from the self, this is the root cause of all one's miseries. Intellectually, you come to know that you have been created by God. And God sustains all intellectually. But then there is a big problem. When will I be united with God? And your sadhana goes on with increasing longing, and along with it comes big frustrations. How long? Oh God, how long can you keep me separated from you? The fact is, God or the absolute self is never separated. An illustration is given, a loving mother holding her baby in her arms goes to sleep, and in sleep dreams that she has been separated from the baby and grieves. But all the while the baby is right there. So all the while you are feeling miserable, struggling in deep despair, all the while the very source of thinking that way, the very awareness behind that thought is supported by absolute awareness. Every experience is like a wave, and waves are sustained by the ocean. And that ocean is the divine self. Since one does not understand the immortal and imperishable nature of the self, one considers the death of the physical body as his utter loss. He cries in agony, "Alas, I'm going to die. I'm destroyed by death." So this is normal as long as mind is not enlightened. But if mind is led by bhakti, devotion, and if your soul is moving towards enlightenment, death becomes a myth. How can the sky die because of dark, dangerous clouds sending out lightning, thunder? No matter how terrifying those clouds may be, they do not hurt the sky. So for the sky to say, "I'm lost," each time the dark clouds come, it is a stupidity. Devotees view death as opportunity for being free of confinement to the body. The saintly song, "घूंघट कापट खोल दे तो है पीवे मिलेंगे." To a loving bride, the song says, don't keep the cloth over your body, the drape, ghungat, but open your ghungat. The body identity is the ghungat. Do not go on with the body identity open. And now, once the body identity has been lifted, what do you see? You are seeing your beloved, the absolute self. You are reflected self. And for every reflected sun, who is the beloved? The sun. Therefore, O son, practice Brahma Bhavana, the flow of mind towards Brahman. Brahma Bhavana is asserting, I am not the body, I am not the mind. Nothing exists. Nothing belongs to me. I am Satchidananda. This form of affirmation is Brahma Bhavana. Free your mind of the desires of the world process by discovering the illusoriness of the world and the reality of the Absolute Self. And go on intensifying your understanding of what is real and what is false. Real is a screen. False, all the cinema show. Again, I am bringing your attention to the two terms, bhava pratyaya and pratyaya bhav. Awareness of the triad, seer, seen and sight. The awareness of time, space, causation, and the world flowing on with past, present and future. That's brought about by mental projection, like a cinema show. And that's called bhava pratyaya, awareness of relative perception. And pratyaya bhava, that level which recognizes all pratyayas, all reflected apparent realities. They are not absolute reality. They are like mirage. The whole world experience is like a mirage. And world experience does not in any way taint or affect your essential nature. That essential nature, revelation of that is done through intuitive knowledge. When there is revealed, then you realize, even while you are watching the show, it is the screen that is creating all the apparent reality behind the show. The screen is the real reality. Section 119. The powers of ignorance and knowledge. Avidya and vidya. You have two choices. Follow the path of vidya or stay wandering in the realm of avidya, ignorance. If you are a traveler and you find yourself in the midst of a forest during the dark night, your project is to get out of the forest. But you can adopt two paths if you are not being guided in a right way. Then you will follow the path that leads you to more deeper part of the forest. One state of entanglement to a greater state of entanglement. That's the path of avidya. Or you choose the path of moving from darkness to light. That's called the path of Vidya. This all-pervading self entertains the ignorance by assuming the form of creation. All that you experience is led by all that you experience in the world of time, space, causation. And entering more and more in world entanglement. That's path of from darkness to greater darkness. And that's the path of ignorance. And path of knowledge from darkness to light. Path of ignorance from death to death. Path of knowledge from death to immortality. So that all-pervading self enters into the childish games of the world process. But this same self effaces the world process with the power of knowledge for one who is enlightened. Bondage intensified by ignorance and liberation is attained by Vidya, the power of knowledge proceeding from the same divine self. This self becomes the world of the not self for the ignorant. By the miraculous power of attachment. Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangasteshu upajayate. Your mind goes on sustaining negativity through worries, anxieties, sorrows. And the more you continue to do that, you are doing a kind of japa. And the more you continue to do that, your attachment to the world goes on increasing. And that leads to your desires. Dhyayato vishyan sangasteshu upajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama. From attachment, desires are born. Kamat krodho vijayate. And desire movement leads to agitation. Agitation creates delusion in your mind, and so forth. Shining self disappears from one's view due to clouds of desires. Therefore, be endowed with the invaluable armor of Brahman by understanding that the world is a reflection of the self. But as Vidya movement is adopted and we begin to grow through the 7 steps of wisdom, you are wearing armor of wisdom, Gyan Kavach. That nothing in the world can touch you, hurt you. That's the role of armor. So in the military line, soldiers that are shielded by strong armor, they remain unaffected by most difficult fights. Similarly, allow a spiritual armor to shield you. And there are many stotras called Kavach, Rama Raksha Kavach. And aspirants must allow that type of shield by practicing japa, prayer, devotion. You will not be affected by the numerous arrows of delusion discharged by the forces of darkness. Okay, hold off for a moment. Armed by wisdom, you will not be affected by the numerous arrows of delusion discharged by the forces of darkness. All terrible situations, all challenging conditions, they are like forces of darkness. And you have to counteract them by the shield of wisdom. With a purified mind assert, all this is nothing but the Supreme Self. From devotional point of view, Siya Ram Mai Sab Jag Jani. Consider every situation, every part of the world, every atom as presided by, indwelt by Sita and Rama. God is all permeating behind the world process. His presence is never lost. And jnana movement asserting that God is I am. I am Brahman. All permeating, all transcending, all bliss. Acquire the weapons of spiritual oblivion by practicing samadhi. Oblivion here implies moving away from bhava pratyaya, and entering into the state of pratyaya bhav, which I have just explained to you. Moving away from dream, coming to the state of waking. Moving away from love for the cinema show to the end of the show, and discovering the screen was never lost. This form of revelation is the goal of your life. And in that, when you have attained that, the world will be forgotten. Just like when you go to deep sleep, your daily world becomes absolutely forgotten in your sound sleep. Wield this weapon with the firm grip of equal vision and slay the multiplicity of the world process. By the practice of samadhi, first withdraw your mind from the objects of the world. Then destroy the forest of subtle impressions based upon virtue and vice. Having gone beyond the subtle realms of the chitta, attain Brahman and become free from grief. Or the being suggested that your plan is to go beyond mala, vikshepa and avarana, gross impurity, subconscious, subtle desires that are impure, and the cause of all that, the veil of ignorance. Section 120. 7 states of wisdom taught by sage Manu. This is the most highlighted teaching of the Yoga Vasistha. Sapta Bhumikas, 7 states of wisdom. Manu continued, O king, one must promote a purified intellect by studying the scriptures and following the sages. This is the first bhumika, known as Shubhecha, and it matches up with the practice of Shavana. 2 ways the 7 steps are being described. One is the direct way. Shubhecha is called aspiration. Vicharana, reflection. Tanumanasi, attenuation of your mental process. And Sattvapatti, enlightenment. Other 3 steps, they follow in a spontaneous way. They are asansakti, detachment, padartha bhavana, transcending the world of time, space, causation. And seventh step is state of absolute transcendence. Those first four steps, they can be also identified with the sadhana of Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and Samadhi. When you have Shubhecha, aspiration, listening to the teachings becomes a source of great joy. And listening being implies moving away from your ego's notions. You are not listening to your ego. And that's the stage of Shubhecha, Shavana. As mental impurities become sublimated, your anger, greed, hate become attenuated. Your reflection becomes effective. And that's called a manana. And that's called vicharana. The second stage is called manana. It is also known as vicharana. An aspirant develops the art of reflecting upon the divine reality of the self and the unreality of the world process. The third stage is called Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is mind flowing towards Brahman in a profound way. And that brings about attenuation, known as tanu manasi. Anger, greed, etc. have become so thinned out that they can be easily eliminated. And fourth step is entering into deep samadhi, nirvikalp samadhi. With the intensification of samadhi, there arises the fourth stage, called avidya vilaya, dissolution of ignorance. It is also known as sattvapatti, the fullness of sattva, absolute purity. As the mind becomes supremely purified, there dawns the light of intuitive knowledge, which dispels the darkness of ignorance. This stage enables a sage to become free from the wheel of the world process. He is now known as Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated in life. And with this I will conclude. Om Om Ram 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras grace of God over all of you with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti, to be rid of mortality virus. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.